Hi, I'm Linda. Welcome to Eternal Love of Drama, a channel where two drama enthusiasts talk about Chinese drama. We don't know anything about Chinese drama land. We have deeply uninformed opinions about how dramas are made, and um, we don't know anything about pop culture or the entertainment industry. We just opine. Each episode of our channel, we talk about we give an arbitrary drama award. And this show is actually our election themed show. Happy post election. Tell us about today's show.
Okay, I'm really excited. For those of you watching, probably you're in the United States. We just deposed a despot. So congratulations to America for finally removing like a total jerk. Sorry, am I allowed to say that on? I'm allowed to say that on YouTube. This is a terrible ruler who used his power for his own personal gain, and we finally got rid of him. So we got rid of him actually using the only way that we can because we are a democracy, which is voting. And in this case, every vote counted, and we counted all of the votes, and they were all legal, and the people spoke. And so now on January 22nd, we will have a peaceful transition of power to a person that actually might be able to govern the country. Sorry, I'm just very excited about this. Now, in Chinese drama land, things are very different. When you want to remove a despot, you actually have to do some planning and plotting and actually take sometimes very elaborate action. Usually you fail. We're not going to spoil all of the dramas in Dramaland. But, even so you usually fail, but it's actually a good effort that gives you, I don't know, like 20 episodes at least of kind of enjoyment. And so what we want to give an award for in honor of deposing a despot is the most elaborate plots to overthrow an emperor.
Yes, and I think I want to point out that the way that these ancient Chinese dramas work, like there is no it's the only way to stop like an evil despot is to get rid of the emperor and replace him with another emperor. There's never any thought of any other ways in which you might reform the government. It's only replace one emperor with another absolute ruler
Who is benevolent this time, right? And so this is, I mean, and maybe this is interesting. This is about the character of the emperor, who is the son of heaven. So nobody ever says a government of the people, by the people, for the people. They just say an emperor is the son of heaven and needs to care about all of the people, and that what makes a good ruler, someone who knows how to use his authority given by heaven to take care of all of the people.
Okay,
Okay.
so do you
All
want to
right.
start?
Yeah, I'll start with one of the candidates, and this is the Sleuth of the Ming Dynasty. This is in the mass murder category. The mass murder of not just the emperor, but all of I guess the government officials. So they're using the opportunity of the Spring Festival. There will be a lot of lanterns that will sort of light up the imperial city. And they will attach bombs to these lanterns, and so they will detonate and murder, like, so the imperial city, not the city, the capital city. So they'll murder the emperor and all of the people that attend, which will be the officials. So that's one in, and it's very pretty, right? Because the lanterns are very pretty, and so it's a little poetic. But Sleuth of the Ming Dynasty, mass murder in the imperial city.
This is not an uncommon, like mass murder is a common way to assassinate an emperor and the court and his, potential successors. Longest Day in Chang'an. It's a recent drama that lots of people really liked. And similarly, there was a very complicated plot to utilize a holiday, also the Spring Festival, that and build like a very elaborate special lantern that was to be an explosive device that would kill all of the imperial court. This is
Yes.
there. I just thought of a twist on that in Maiden Holmes. The idea was to use fireworks
Okay.
to
Yes.
do the same thing, mass murder.
And the thing about about Maiden Holmes and The Longest Day in Chang'an is the emperor becomes complicit in his own murder, right? Because in The Longest Day in Chang'an, he has now dedicated like so much of the national treasury that people are upset that he's bankrupting the country, and he contributes to the design of this elaborate tower, and he's so excited to see it, and he gets to be the one that shoots the flaming arrow to light it, right? Which will eventually lead to his own death.
Very poetic.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
Okay, so we have a different category, which is in the mind control category, and manipulation. So this is not a direct, this is not like mass murder or like anything like that. This is from Vigilantes and Masks. And we won't spoil it by saying who the masterminds are, but essentially this emperor only cares about becoming immortal and is very obsessed with spirituality. And so they use a temple that he's at, and they create a number of supernatural events. And there was a supernatural child with like writing on his chest and
fake supernatural.
Fake, right? So this is all like part of this elaborate plot to control the emperor and to make him like not interested enough so that the actual masterminds can then take over the government and become the emperor.
Also in the mind control category, Sleepless Princess, there was the advisor who slowly fed the emperor medicines over a long period of time in order to make him his puppet and then control his actions. So that was also a takeover plot.
But it's slightly different because the person that did this, without spoiling it, doesn't have designs on himself being the emperor.
Yeah, it's a revenge motivated act. So, okay. Which do you think is the best overthrow technique?
Well, I feel like when we talked about this earlier, before we talked just now, I actually thought that The Longest Day in Chang'an was like had the best sort of most elaborate plot because it took over a year to plan. Yeah. And it was something where the emperor himself like would lead to, like basically kill himself, right? But now that like after we talked, I feel like you made a really good case for first of all, the unoriginality of using firepower and creating mass destruction and murdering people. So I feel like
blunt weapon. It's a very blunt weapon, and there are many, like, there's a lot of collateral damage.
Yeah. So I guess in that case, I'm willing to be convinced that something like the mind control, where like in the end, he's just quietly removed because you've so convinced him that like he is irrelevant, that it's actually, I mean, if it would have worked, it would have been really good because it wouldn't have taken a lot of effort for the masterminds to just have stepped into power, which is what they wanted. So I will say Vigilantes and Mask using like, I guess, fake supernatural, Taoist, mystical control to make you feel like you're becoming immortal.
Yeah, I would like I am tending to lean towards a preference against mass murder.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I also like the like controlling the emperor instead of like killing or replacing. And so, but I'm gonna go with Sleepless Princess as my arbitrary winner of this arbitrary award because the fact that they used children in the plot, like I didn't like the like fake supernatural children that were drugged or something.
Okay, so I will say this is not a Chinese drama, but you had mentioned Mulan when we deleted Mulan from this, so we're going to talk about it. But when you said Jet Li was the emperor, it reminded me Jet Li was in like, was it like Hero or like House of Flying Daggers? What is the one where he was telling the story to like okay, so this is because we're uninformed, but I remember seeing them both. I think this was Hero, right?
I don't know.
Okay, so I thought that was so there are not a lot of direct assassination plots in C-Drama Land, but I feel like that would be one of them because he he gets I'm gonna look this up on my phone in a second, but the emperor is like interested enough in the story that he allows Jet Li to come closer, closer, and closer until finally they're close enough that then he can like an attempt a direct assassination. So like assassination through storytelling.
Mm-hmm. What was that movie we watched with the cool umbrellas? Like, I
Um,
felt like that one had a similar thing.
oh, that was good. That was another Zhang Yimou movie, like Shadow. That was called Shadow.
The umbrellas were cool. So yes, direct assassination is another way. Usually, so like the people that are trying to take over are either people that are in the government, like ministers that feel like they should be in charge. Or else they are a like from another country or tribe, which makes it like more of a war situation than a like takeover. Or else they are like relatives, right? So it's interesting because like
Yeah.
oftentimes it is like relatives that are vying for power and I think that's why it's a little more plotting and less like direct assassination.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So with that, what drama are we reviewing this week?
So we are reviewing one of our favorites, which means we will be trying very, very hard not to give any spoilers
Mhm.
because we very much want you to watch this. Today we're going to be reviewing Nirvana in Fire, and we love Nirvana in Fire. So the quick synopsis is that there is a general, General Lin in the 6th century, who is unjustly framed. So he's like at war and on the way back. He's framed for some conspiracy, and it leads to his family and 31 other families being massacred. His son survives. He was on the battlefield with him, but he somehow survives, though he has contracted a deadly poison. And we talked about snow bugs and blah 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 in a previous episode, but it leaves him very transformed, and he changes his identity essentially and goes under the name of Mei Changshu, and he becomes the head of the pugilistic world, and he spends 12 years plotting. And it's interesting because it's not quite plotting for justice. He's plotting, or he's not quite plotting revenge. He's plotting justice. Like he wants justice for his family and all the other families. And so it becomes a really deeply elaborate plot for him to support one of the princes in becoming the next emperor, but also to clear the names of all of those families that were wrongly accused. So in the process, he's a very, very, very smart person. In the process, he sort of uncovers a lot of the plotting that was happening back in the day that led to the whole framing and killing of his family. So, does that sum it up?
It's his family, the 30 some other families, but also one of the key families was at the time, 12 years ago when this like framing happened, it was the Crown Prince and his family and everyone affiliated with the Crown Prince's family. And because they were just finishing up this battle, the people that framed them went ahead and just murdered the rest of the army, which was 70,000 soldiers, and claimed victory for the victory that General Lin just achieved.
Yeah.
So kind of
So
a lot.
shady.
Yes.
But this is not our typical cup of tea. Like we do not like the palace power struggle situation. But I think that one thing that I really liked about this is like there's a really big difference between like the plotting to get power for yourself because you want to have power, which you see a lot in palace dramas, um, versus like there is a deep commitment to justice here. Like they all want like they want their family names to be cleared, and they want them to be cleared by the people that accused them and convicted them, and not like any other way. So there's like a really like there's a strong moral code and a strong attachment to justice, which is something that I really liked about this.
Okay, so let me say something about that. So, Mei Tangsu comes to the city and he has this box with the name of everyone who's basically a cabinet secretary. And they're all corrupt. And so he brings them down one by one. To your point, though, about the justice, they're all brought down because something that they have done that is terrible is brought to light, and then justice happens in a big way. Like whether they are people that, I don't know, had like a weird fetish and ran a brothel where women were regularly killed and threw them in their bodies into a well, and then that becoming like known. And then, so he systematically dismantles every corrupt official by bringing their evil deeds to light and making the world like cry out for their removal.
And the drama has a lot of bad things happen, but I think that the fact that he succeeds in a lot of his efforts is like, it's nice to watch because it like is reassuring for me. I don't like to watch things where like the bad people win all the time that are really dark, like there is a lot of darkness, but there is also justice. And it feels comforting to me that justice can exist in this universe.
Mm-hmm.
What else did you like about it?
Okay, I'm going to say this as a sub-bullet off of the characters. I thought they were both very smart female characters. I really liked all of them, and really smart adversaries. So I'll start with the adversaries first, because we were just talking about like the people that he's bringing down. This is not one of those one-sided shows with the eyebrows where like the evil people just are very one note. They are very clever, and they try to do bad things and hide them, and they are good at it. But he is just a little bit better. But it's not always clear right away that he's going to win.
It is like you're like on the edge of your seat sometimes.
Yes,
it's difficult to achieve in a 50 episode drama. Like those like tension moments are like intense.
Yes. So I appreciated that it felt like a real battle instead of like just the good guy plowing through for the sake of a plot. And then I really liked all of the female characters. There were a couple of, there was obviously going to be a consort or a concubine that's annoying. But she ends up being smarter than her son. So, she is actually the one that's doing the plotting, and she's the mastermind. But there are women like Ni Huang, who is my favorite princess, who is super badass. She's a general. She defends the southern border and commands 100,000 soldiers, but she's also like really girly, and she is so smart. She is I don't know, is this a spoiler to say that she is the first person to figure out his real identity? And it is because, sorry, I did spoil it, but you don't feel sad because she's going to. She's so smart, and she's relentless, and she doesn't back down. And she's not one of those people that will not say what she thinks because it's in an inopportune time. Someone tries to do something really shady and bad to her, and they think she's going to be so ashamed of the entire incident that she's going to just let it go. But she runs right up to the emperor and she says, "This is what happens. It's not okay." And she confronts people normally. So I really like her. But also the other female that are like Prince Jing's mom, she's the smart one. She's very, very, very smart. And I'm not going to spoil it by telling you.
But also kind, because the thing I hate about palace drama is it's all these people these women vying for power, and like one of the ways they vie for power is like manipulating their children, and like by having children, like I don't like feel like giving birth to a child is like the right way to like gain power. But like she is like such a nice character, and she's principled, and she's like willing to do things that she needs to do to like help her son, but she is like just like she's a cool character. I also like the princess character that married the Duke. He is really a cool character also, I think. Smaller role, but a cute character and a cool character. The characters in this show are so good and well developed. And I don't know, like some of the stuff we've been watching lately is shorter, like, you know, the like 36, 40 episode ones. And this was 50, but like they also just like cared about developing character, you know. And I think that like everyone from like the younger generation to the older generations, like with the moms and the like children, like there were so many interesting backstories, and you just like wanted to, like, you know, nobody was, there weren't that many people that were just like there to fill a role.
Yeah.
So
And I felt that way about the dialogue too, because even in some of the dramas that we watch that are only like 36 episodes, I feel like sometimes they're like 5 episodes too long. Like there is not a conversation where you're not learning a piece of information about either something that happened in the past or why some relationships are like the way they are now. And I think that's fascinating.
yeah, everyone from like the, was it the Tai Ho? No, what's the like
The Tai Huang Tai Ho, the great
yeah,
grandmother,
great
she's
grandmother
so cute.
who knew it, who knew, who
Yes, she
immediately,
was really the first one. Yeah.
yeah. So like yeah, there was, this is such a good drama. Like they, there are a lot of dramas that I think are produced really quickly, and they're produced like to have like mass commercial appeal, with the like young pretty people. And I think that like you just can't get, there isn't a much depth to them, and this is one of those dramas that like you will
Yes.
like be impacted by, and they will be your friends and your enemies, and like,
You will be sad
oh yeah,
at many different points in it.
yeah.
So I'm going to say, this is not, before we get to the sadness, I really appreciated how well choreographed the fighting scenes were. So I say this a lot about a lot of dramas because really I like watching people fight. But like, you know, some of the fantasy dramas, too much CGI, some of the like idol dramas, too much twirling and spinning. Like the fight scenes were good and they were evenly distributed good. So Fei Liu, the little kid, like who's the cutest pouty little puppy ever, best sidekick, right? He gets some amazing fighting scenes. Princess Ni Huang, who is the 10th best fighter in the world, gets great fighting scenes. Right? Mengzi, the number 2 fighter in the world, he gets some good scenes. I mean, we meet like numbers 4 and 5 as well as the ones that are not on the list. And
Oh yeah. So we didn't talk about Lang Yapang.
oh yeah. Oh sorry. Yes, that's a critical part.
Yes. So the Chinese name of this drama is Lang Yapang, and Lang Yapang is like a
It's the
database.
Forbes. It's a Forbes list, basically, right? Like 40 under 40.
Like written on little wooden cards, lists of rankings of all kinds of stuff.
The
And
10 richest people. We met the number 1 richest person.
yeah.
10 most beautiful women.
Yeah. And then the way they set it up, like the system by which like you can retrieve these cards, it's like really cool.
Yes. And the reason that's important is because Mei Sang-su is on the list as being the number 1 smartest person in the world.
Yep, and that's our protagonist.
Also. That's our protagonist. But all of the scenes, like there's great fighting, like Jing Rui gets some good fighting, his friend gets some good fighting, Xia Dong, who is a cool badass investigator, she gets a good couple of good fight scenes in.
And like a really interesting personal story.
Yes.
Yes. And since you brought up Jing Rui,
oh yes, let's talk about that.
Say that I'm going to do my best. I'm not providing any spoilers here. So Jing Rui is a character who's a young man who turns 25, and there was a mix-up. So basically, like 2 women gave birth in a temple on a stormy night. One baby was killed, and it wasn't clear which the surviving baby belonged to. And he was a surviving baby who grew up with these 2 parents, like 2 sets of parents sharing him. And on his 25th birthday, he has the most epic birthday party ever seen on Chinese drama. I'm just gonna say it. It's so
So
uncalled,
epic.
so epic, and like it is. Well, I will say that it's not like great epic, but it is very epic, and it's just like you're watching it like something bad is going to happen. You know something very bad is going to happen, and you watch it unfold, and you're just like, can it get any worse?
It does.
And it does. So and
No,
couldn't have
if I was
happened to a nicer
Jingray,
kid.
I know so first of all, Jingray is the nicest person in the whole of the drama. And he has this birthday party. And if I'm him, I'm thinking, never in my life will I ever celebrate my birthday again. And I'm certainly never like having a party ever again of any kind.
It is the birthday party to end all birthday parties.
Except then at the end, they decide that the emperor is going to have a birthday party. And so perfect. Let's all go to the emperor's birthday party.
And you're just like, have we not learned our lesson about birthday parties?
Yes.
But
The
it's
characters
really,
in this dramaverse.
like it is so good. It's well, the birthday party is very well done. It's like a really fascinating plot point.
Yes.
All right, so tell me about sadness.
So I think like in episode 1, within the first 15 minutes, you know from Mei Tangsu's conversation with his doctor that he can probably live 2 years. So you don't go in thinking that like he'll get happily ever after, but like you're still very sad when he dies.
Yeah, I think that also just like when I talk about that birthday party, you know, like you're already, and that was like pretty early in the plot,
Mm-hmm.
in the drama, and like you're already like they've already developed and painted like enough of a picture of this character that you like really like feel for him. Like you do not want this thing to happen to him that is happening to him. And it is like it's a combination of like the good storytelling and the character development that really like pulls you in and makes you feel involved in in their lives. So it will give you feelings. This is like, you know, not your like light have it on in the background drama, but I feel like it is like deeply worthwhile.
Yeah, so this gets to like, I don't know if this is like a crossover tip or just something to note. This is very hard to watch because it is an investment. I think you and I probably talked about this when we were considering watching this. You like, if I didn't have that character guide, which had borderline spoilers in it, like I didn't like within the first 2 episodes, you meet like 100 people. And they're all really important because, as we discussed, there are no unimportant characters. Even like the like palace like servants, right? There is no unnecessary character in this. And so it's so hard, your head is spinning because it's like the prince of something and the earl of something and the duke of somebody and like this person's uncle and dad, and you're meeting them all at once. And
And sometimes you
like
meet
I
them
had to watch
briefly, so you don't quite remember
yes,
what they look like. Um, but I
yes.
watched, you started it first, and you sent
Mhm.
me a really helpful character guide that we will link in the comments. And I had it open on my phone as I'm watching on my laptop because I like was trying to keep track of who was who. And that was really helpful because it's important to know who they are if you want to follow the plot.
And it's important to know which team they play on at first, because that's like a key part of this, like whose team is who. But I will say it's okay to use the character guides because even though they're spoilers, they're mild spoilers.
And
You
you're not like, oh, this ruined it for me. You're like,
yeah,
oh, okay, I understand what happened.
yeah. And even though like you don't know all of the information right away, like did I totally spoil it for you about like Ni Huang and her relationship? I didn't say it, but like you don't know it right away. You just know that he's super sad when he sees her for the first time. And
What
then
if
like
we're talking about this?
Yeah. But then like later on you realize why he's super sad. And so it's sort of like there's a lot of information about the relationships that you don't know, but you experience them as the characters experience them and you're like, "Oh, that guy's cousin."
Mhm.
Like that's like either like extra good because of what happened or like extra crappy of him to do that to his own cousin.
Yeah.
So you like gradually learn about all of the like very intricate relationships.
Yeah.
So it's good to know who's who at least, because I watched that first episode like 2 times before I started Googling for something to help me.
Yeah. So, um, we recommend it. Yeah.
Hmm.
Would you watch it again?
I've watched a bunch of it again. So
Um,
yeah.
I highly recommend it. I think that it's very, very helpful in the beginning, especially to like have read the character guide to understand who people are. But I do think that you're right. It's a time investment and it's like an emotional investment that you have to be prepared to make. But it's totally worth it. Like literally, this and The Untamed are the only, and we have now watched so many Chinese dramas, and like these are the only two that like rise to the top in their own category of like things that we really like um feel emotionally invested in, right? The other stuff is like fluff
Yes.
or trash.
Well, fluff and trash has a place too, because you do sometimes just need something on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like we'll talk about some fluff next time, in our next episode. But
Yeah. So watch it. It's worth it.
where do we watch it? Where did we watch it? YouTube?
YouTube.
Nirvana and Fire, guys. See you next time.